felt like Andre's mama, as I was 12 when he was born. And his birth was such an exciting event in all of our lives. I think almost the whole of Bloemfontein. Andre was a robust baby, and as I remember him, a happy, happy baby. I remember, I think, every night singing him to sleep. And then I also remember he was still a baby. He was born in October, and at Christmas time, of course, my mom always put on a nativity play, and who else to use better than her own children? So I was Mary, actually the Virgin Mary, in 12, and Paul was the angel, dressed as an angel, and Andre was the baby Jesus. And this is I thought you were always a shepherd. I do remember that when he was definitely able to speak, and someone said, "What's your name?" And he'd say, "I'm Andre Jean Jordan, I am a Bobbejaan, and I drink Skokkejaan." I don't know who taught him that. Oh, my dad, who was, slightly scaly himself sometimes. So I can't remember everything in between, but probably what hit our family the most was when he was diagnosed with the Guillain-Barré, because it was just that sudden shift, almost out of his childhood into something else. And I truly believe a lot of Andre's humor and the vision, his mature vision and thought and wit, really dates back to that. Of course, he was in hospital for almost 9 months, and I do remember him telling the most terrible jokes, because he was there with much older kids. Andre had a unique way of phrasing things, of saying things. I would say the same similar sentence and it would be normal for him. He would see something or whatever, and he had his own fresh view of it all, and I loved that. I really enjoyed that. And I think it was Herbie who sent me a message saying how sorry he was, and said, when Andre walked into a room, he brightened it up, no matter if he was in a dark space or not. So very happy memories of Andre, and I'd just like to say, Hamba Gashli, my brother, my boetie, Hamba Gashli.
We all know you've got a left brain and a right brain, but Andre's were joined together. They were in a state of osmosis continually. Andre danced to the rhythm of his own life, embracing everybody who came with him. And you joined, Andre made you join that dance. You were part of that rhythm, and it became an intricate part of his magic and everybody else's magic. And if you wanted to join him, God, you were welcome. When Andre decided to become a sound engineer, I was like, hey, my boetie, what maak jy nou? But it was interesting because that became an intricate part of his whole rhythm. Even Andre's unique walk had a rhythm. It had style to it. It was like a you know, and the lovely thing about Andre, I never ever saw Andre limp. Did any of you ever see Andre limp? Joe mentioned the Guillain-Barré, but I mean the incredible thing with that also was that he picked it up, and within 2 weeks he was totally paralyzed, right up to, right up to his chin. and they were about to put him on an artificial lung, and suddenly it started subsiding. And it was an amazing physiotherapist who said to him, "We're going to walk him. We are going to walk him." And the doctors all said, the chances are quite slim. Then they were talking about possibly a lifespan until 25. And almost exactly to the day of it being a year since he contracted it, we went to the Bolton Orthopedic Hospital, where he was still having his physio, to go and see him. There Andre was on the hospital food trolley, leaning over it, and he was just wheel spinning all the way down this corridor with those little bionikies just sending it. And he said, "I can walk, I did it. And we all kind of jumped on the trolley and we just spun and went down the corridor with him and all the rest of it. And that was the kind of determination, that was the dance, that was the love for life. And I think he realized that he had to cram a hell of a lot because he didn't know how long life was going to be. And I mean, Pat was playing Mr. Bojangles before we started now. And to me, Andre was a Mr. Bojangles. He really and truly just had that love to dance and the music, and it was just an intricate part of him and an intricate part of his soul.
Andre's sudden, unexpected passing has rent an Andre-shaped hole in the fabric of my psyche. It will be hard to darn that tear. I so looked up to Andre. I admired him, how relaxed he was, how energetic, how funny, how anarchic, so full on, so smart. I was suffering from the halo effect real strong. He could do no wrong, even when he patently was doing wrong. I only remember once ever having contradicted Andre especially vehemently and was sorely chastised by him for my efforts. It felt weird. My force of nature mate letting me have it. I was quite flattered. So, halo effect and cognitive dissonance at the same time. Same guy. I loved Andre very much. He was such a good guy. I'm so sorry.
Where I first met Andre in 1979 at Garmin Court in Braamfontein. It was a core of activity for not only people in sort of the Joburg counterculture, and but it's a very memorable and important building because so many of our friends will talk back and remember Garmin Court. That's where I first met Andre, and I mean, he was unique. I took a liking to each other. I mean, everyone loved Andre. Everyone who met him loved Andre. Andre drove a bright yellow combi called the Pestaway, and white was called the Pestaway.
Yes!
It was basically, he had acquired it from an extermination company. Everyone in Braamfontein, everyone in Joburg knew this combi, Pestaway. If we were going on excursions, if we were going anywhere, hey, we're going in the Pestaway. It was great. Andre was incredibly knowledgeable about almost anything, and he loved to share his knowledge. A story about that, and it's called grunions. Andre was slicing these little weird looking things. They look like onions, but they were funny little shape, but you cut them and they smelled like garlic. and they were called what Andre called grunions. He started telling me about grunions, and he knew everything about grunions. They're very rare. He went on about grunions and where you can find grunions and where you might not be able to find grunions. And like you could find them, say, in Alaska. You could find them. You could find them in South America. You could find them under a certain roulette table in Las Vegas. And the other day, about 3 months ago, I was in Cape Town, and we were at Dawn's place. Diana was there, and Andre was there, and Dawn was cutting these weird-looking onions, and Andre exclaims, "Grunions!" And I knew exactly what he was talking about. And actually, they were shallots. And I'll flash back now to Heartbreak Hotel, which was not to be confused. This was in Yodel Berea, not to be confused with Heart of Darkness, which was in Bez Valley. To beat the cold of winter, he put a pipe, a hose pipe type thing, right into city gas supply, into a water sprinkler. He would light it, and the fire came out of the water. It was effective but very scary. Another thing about Fagan's farm, he was worried about his possessions because people went to live there, they lived backwards and forwards, and there were people there. And he had this big brown coquille, and he actually made pretend skid marks on his underpants. So no one would wear them or borrow them. Another thing was sport. Andre. Cricket, rugby, golf, Olympic Games. Andre hated sport. He told me he loved reading Harry Potter, but he skipped the parts about Quidditch. And I know this because we watched the Harry Potter movie together, and he fast forwarded. So sport he didn't like at all, but he occasionally did some fishing. And back to grunions, I googled them the other day, grunions, to see, if they are shallot type, onion type things, and a grunion is actually a fish. And that takes me to Parktown North. After Andre left Papazonke, he went to Parktown North and came to stay at the place I was renting, and I was only expecting him, and he brought his cats with him, and that was great because I really liked those cats, and then he met Dinah there. So I was expecting just to share the place with Dinah. I was sharing the place with 2 cats and Dinah, and it was wonderful. We became to be great friends. And then there was one more that joined us. I soon gave the master bedroom to Andre and Dinah. And Dinah was pregnant and Mummy was born.
At one point I used to think more of Andre as being an older brother to me rather than my uncle. I was living with him in Bombazonke in the mid-1990s, and one Saturday night I was sort of trying to study probably, right? And he said, some work colleagues of mine from Chris Fellow's sound studio have invited me round for a braai at their house. And I said, okay, that's great. He invited me along. I started tagging along in the car, and I said, well, where do they live? In Pretoria. It's like, I didn't bring my passport with me. Anyway, we go to Pretoria. We down in Pretoria, we had a lovely braai with these people, and of course Andre was the star of the show. You take Andre to a place like that, and suddenly it goes from being a suburban braai to something totally different. Music and all sorts of fun things happening. And about midnight he says, well, let's go look around Pretoria. We don't know Pretoria. And as any Joburger doesn't really know it well. So we're driving down Church Street, and we're heading towards town, and he's like, where's a nice spot? I wonder where would one go in Pretoria? We stop at the traffic light, and it was like after midnight, the Sunday Times. Remember in those days you get the newspapers just after midnight on a Sunday morning. Sunday Times, would hit the street. There's this young guy standing there selling Sunday Times. And he starts asking him, rolls down his window, he said, where's a good place to go and listen to music? And this guy lights up and says, yes, there's a very good place called Cracker Jack. And Cracker Jack is the place to go listen to jazz music on a Sunday morning in Pretoria. Like, okay, how do we get there? He's like, straight down Church, right at Esalen, left again at Hoogstraat, and up to, you can't miss it. That sounds a bit complex. Andre said, well, what do you earn on an evening with all these stack of Sunday Times? And he said, probably 100 Rand, I'd get for that. It's like, okay, there's 100 Rand, jump in the back there. All the Sunday Times. Of course, Andre thought it was only the Sunday Times he's holding in his arm, but of course he had a whole pile of them inside the right side. I had about 100 editions of the Sunday Times in the back of the car. And he duly proceeds to take us to Crackerjack. And we park the car, but the typical Andre thing is like, well, the young guy starts walking away and says, no, but come inside. We don't know anyone here. You obviously know the place. I mean, it's probably unlikely the young guy selling newspapers really knew the place totally well. But of course, this guy's like, okay, great. And we go in there, and Tony, you spoke about firemen, or who spoke about firemen as being old? Well, it turns out this is the after-hours bar for the local fire department. Long story short, we watched the sunrise at the Voortrekker Monument. And you spoke earlier about an Andre-shaped hole in your life, Benno, and I can relate to that. That's what I'm also staring into now.
Traveling light is the only way to fly. Traveling light, just you and I. One-way ticket to ecstasy.
I met Andre. Well, I met Chloe. Love of my life. Thank you, Andre. Thank you, Catherine. And Chloe took me to Africa Burns. And he said, my dad's coming. And I'm like, wow, okay, cool. I really landed my ass in the butter, yeah. And we sitting and like, how are we gonna find your dad? And she's like, I don't know. And then in the distance we had Chloe, and there's Andre, and he, he's there. He found us, and I'm like, wow, found my people, and not just Andre, like everyone that's here, and. Wow, he had such empathy for people because of what he went through with his body. And sure, the man's been through a lot. And he still had empathy. Like the world didn't owe him anything. He didn't judge you. He was just there to make you feel comfortable, and yeah. And he was tortured, he's a tortured soul. He found it very hard to like sit still, and he always had to talk, and always had to try and like make sure everybody felt okay. And I went fishing with him one day, and I've never seen him so calm. It was like, yeah, sure, he really enjoyed fishing, that man. And his general knowledge around the kitchen and everything is like, I'd always say to Chloe, like, fucking hell, Andre is just talking shit. And then I'd go and Google it. And the man was right. He knew what he was talking about, And that's Andre, man. The guy could fix anything, talk to you about anything. He was the endless podcast. I miss that guy. And then, Claire and I got the news. We cried, and it's like everyone else was. And he'd always just enter your soul. And we're sitting there with the pile of tears. We must have gone through 2 rolls of toilet paper, and we're like, I can't stop thinking about Andre, Chloe. And she's like, yeah, me too. Like the sort of stuff he would say if he's looking down on us. And take all the toilet paper and put it on a scale and weigh toilet paper without water and then weigh toilet paper with the water, and then he'd say, okay, this is how much a grieving daughter cries, this is how much a son-in-law cries, this is how much, he'd figure it all out. That's Andre.
Sometimes I feel like I'm a motherless child. Sometimes I feel just like I'm a motherless child. A long way from my home.
On our wedding, Tony made a speech, and today, which of all days is our wedding anniversary, and so things have come a full circle. He wasn't always an easy person to live with, and after a while his jokes kind of made me groan. But for Jordan's sense of humour is indomitable. Faced with any situation, he would either reply with a bad joke or a song lyric. I've never known anyone who had such a prodigious memory for song lyrics. A lot of people have said he just absorbed and remembered information. He was always up for detailed conversations about different microphones, or the latest rare mammal discovered in Indonesia. And I think we did spend a lot of time checking things on Google. So time spent with Andre was always interesting and entertaining, and I'm going to miss that. I met Andre and Paul in the amazing village of Bambazonke that they created together. And many of us met each other there. There are marriages, babies, friendships, lifelong friendships, many things, and internationally renowned parties that happened in Bambazonke. And that was Andre grew up in a house that was like a village, if I understand correctly, what your home was like. And he created and was the heart and soul of many villages after that. And it's good to be here in this village. And I want to say to, I think we all want to say to Chloe and Manu that we feel your loss big time. And there's nobody else who can be Andre. But you've got a lot of scaly uncles here with a bit of his soul inside of them. They're going to be there for you, this village. And all the scaly uncles are there for you.
No one can break this little heart of yours, this little heart beating for you alone. Strange how this little heart made of stone once brought me happiness too.
We would just like to do a little song, and we prepared it. Like in Mauritius, and we thought we would do it for all of you. So Abraham had many sons, Abraham, I am one of them, and so are you. So let's against them, right on the. So Abraham had many sons, the many sons had father Abraham. I am one of them, and so are you. So let's against the Lord right.
My darling Dad, I'll never be the same, and it's now up to me to imbue your irreverent, creative spirit into myself and into Eva and Fion. You carried magic dust in your pockets, and you are never stingy with scattering it. You have gifted me your beautiful genes and a strong sense of self. A dash of the personal style you had bucket loads of. You had some qualities in such abundance, you bubbled over and eagerly shared your creativity, not caring what others thought. How we all wish this celebration of you could have been a milestone birthday. I'm sorry I didn't throw more parties for you.
You taught me how to drive and to eat a box of lychees without using any hands while driving. You taught me how to ride a bike, how to fix a bike, and we rode bikes at Africa Burn together. And finally, earlier this month, you rode bikes with my children in the driveway. You always said riding a bike was the ultimate sense of freedom. And I now know that you are free from pain and the pressure of a world far too harsh for the sensitive boy and man that you were. I'll never forget getting my matric results atop a hill in the Transkei on Paul's farm, and we celebrated in the car, the old red Taz, with whiz and fizz, whiskey and soda, favorite drink of yours. Except for some reason we didn't have glasses, but you cut a soda bottle in half and we drank from giant plastic mugs. You drank and you drank from the giant mug of life. It was never enough, and it will never be enough, and that's okay. I got you for 36 years, which feels far too short. Your creativity was unpredictable, which made it utterly unique. We could never predict what you'd say or do. Most of the time you surprised yourself. If I prodded as to how you arrived at a particularly hilarious point, you'd be dismissive of your process. I still don't know the formula to your wonderful madness, and now I'll never know. I'll only be able to see things in the world and know that you would find them funny, beautiful, or outrageous. To my darling dad, I raise a toast to you.
To Andre.
Andre!
All the best forever. Lots and lots of love.